So to show you how this works, I put a record on here. My artist of the day is Joe Egan. I'm gonna wait and see if anybody remembers who Joe Egan is. This is a deep one. I went 2 or 3 steps beyond where I should have gone because there's a logical progression here. Joe Egan was the front 2 of the main members of Stealers Wheel, along with Jerry Rafferty, and they had Stuck in the Middle with You and Star. And of course, Jerry Rafferty went solo and did Baker Street, and Joe Egan was the other singer, and he went ahead and did a couple records himself. So normally, what I should have done is done Stealers Wheel, and then done Jerry, and then done Joe, because that way it goes deeper and deeper into the hole, right? But, whatever. I was just listening to Joe, and I thought it was cool. Why not? So, anyway, Joe Egan and Jerry Rafferty were part of the band Stealers Wheel. In 1973, they had a big hit with Stuck in the Middle with You, which, if you know what that song is about, it's about them getting stuck in a meeting with record company guys. You want to talk about a band who hated the record industry. They hated record companies. Jerry Rafferty, till the day he died of alcoholism 20 years later, hated record companies, hated record people. Every song they did sounded like it was a rant against record people. Okay? Well, there's a good reason for that because, at the time, these guys were like, in the press in Europe, they were like the Crosby, Stills, Nash of Europe at the time because their harmonies. When you hear Joe sing, you go, "What sounds like Jerry Rafferty?" Their voices sound so much alike. But when they harmonize, they almost sound like better than brothers. So the harmonies are fantastic. Anyway, so you'll remember that on their songs. But anyway, so what happened was they had Stuck in the Middle with You. Lieber and Stoller produced that record. Holy crap, So, they were going places, but they had gone through more changes than Spinal Tap. I mean, even by the time that Stuck in the Middle with You was a hit, Jerry Rafferty quit the band. But Joe sang it, so I guess it was okay. But they had replaced him with 5 other people and stuff like that. And then legal troubles and stuff, when the band imploded, they were kept from making a record for 3 years, right in the peak. They came out with a second album. They had a song called Star, and it's one of my favorite songs of all time. And I will do that one when I do Stealers Wheel. But they got stuck for like 3 years. Meanwhile, Jerry Rafferty made Baker Street. They had Baker Street on it. It's A City to City is the album, but it had Baker Street and stuff on it, right? That was his big breakout, right? Well, Joe didn't do as well. He did 2 albums. First one's called Out of Nowhere in '79. This one's called Map from 1981. Unless you live in Canada, where it's called State of Nowhere, something like that. Or it's got a different title. It's a whole different album cover and a whole different title in Canada for some reason. That's how wacky, effed up their label was. But anyway, long story short, Joe Egan did these records. They didn't really go anywhere. He got out of the business. He joined Jerry Rafferty in the '90s and sang on one of Jerry's albums. And last I heard, looking him up, he was, as of 10 years ago, he was doing like production stuff, like working on houses and stuff. So anyway, with that being said, I do all that to show you the features and functions of this turntable. But let me go ahead and show you what this thing does. You got a power button right here. You push this down, that turns it on, of course, right? You have a manual control for 33 and 45. You probably won't ever use these buttons. And if you'll see here in a minute, because the 47F does so many things automatically. It's really, really cool. These locate features here, this actually will move the arm in and out for you without ever you having to touch the arm. And the beauty is, because the controls are in front of the dust cover, right? You don't have to worry about if you got it in a shelf or whatever, like lifting it up or pulling it out or whatever you got to do. With them being out there makes it really cool. You have a lifter function here, queuing up and down with a light. Your repeat function plays the side over and over again because it's a fully automatic turntable. At the end, it will either lift up, come all the way back to here and shut itself off, or if you have that button push, it'll play it over and over again. And then, of course, start is start, and stop is stop. The cartridge that I mentioned here, this is a 1895, really workhorse cartridge. They're venerable. The cool thing about 95s is you upgrade them, you can get better styluses and stuff for them, which is what this one here came with. Has a Nagaoka upgraded stylus on it. It sounds really good. I mean, yes, you can put a 2M black on here for $750 and it'll sound better. Do that. Great, But for really cool sound, moving magnet, high output, it rocks. It's great. The head shell's removable. You unscrew the screw and the head shell comes out. Now back here is your combination control that does your anti-skating and your cue damping and tracking force all in one. Now anti-skating, of course, is anti-skating. That's the force, when a record spins, it tends to suck the needle in. Anti-skating actually pulls the arm back so it keeps the record, the V of the needle, in the center of the groove so it tracks evenly, right? That's anti-skating. in a nutshell. VTF's your tracking force, and this runs at 2 grams, so I got it set at 2, right? Now, the Q damping is for the dead-end servo tracer tracker arm. Okay, everybody take a breath, roll one, here we go. The servo arm on these things, dead-end servo arms are the coolest thing about them. I love them, I love them, I love them. There's magnets, there's coils underneath the arm that act as magnets. They get energized, and they suck the arm over and back and up and down. So instead of being gears and pulleys and wheels and dead weights and springs and all that kind of shit that will go bad after 30 years, these are magnets. They don't go bad. Well, they get weak. That's why you recap them. When you recap them, you refresh everything, right? That recharge, you put all the new batteries in the thing, basically. And, these things run like Rolls Royces. It makes it really, really awesome. And you'll see that in a minute here. Then you got a regular ballast style counterweight back here. Then this tube right here, I call it the silo. There's a hole in there. You might have noticed last thing, there's a light that shines. Okay, people think it's a power light, and it kind of is, except it shines across the record for a reason. We'll get to that in a second. Then this hole right here, you shouldn't ever have to use it, but that's where you put a screwdriver in there, and you can adjust exactly where the arm drops at the beginning of the record. So if you want to be close to the edge or a little bit in, it'll do that for you. I have that set for you, right? So anyway, when you want to play a record on this thing, you got to have a record on this thing. And the reason that is what I just mentioned here. Underneath here, you might have saw these slits. It's got what's called a platter sensor. So what happens is, when that light shines across here, this thing will see those, right? If there are no lights to be found, like all the sensors are covered, this thing knows it's a full-size album, assumes it's 33, sets the speed automatically, sets where the arm goes automatically. Cool, right? If you put a 45 like a single on it, it's only going to cover one of those lights, right? Like that, right? So it's going to go, only one light. It's going to set the speed to 45. It's going to move the arm over to where like a 45 single would be, and then that's going to work, right? But if you have none on there, which we'll show you in a minute, this is really cool. So when you fire this thing up, it does what I call a happy dance. That is where it checks the processor, it checks everything, makes sure it's all good, pops up to attention. It's like, hello, we ready to go? You good? Yep, we're good, right? And you see that light shine across the record here. So as I mentioned, when there's no album on here, I jokingly call it the 4 margarita rule. You hit start, and this thing's going to go, hey, Mark, let's go play that record, Oh, no, you idiot. It knows that you were too drunk, stupid, or C, both the above, to think you have your Joe Egan album on here. But if you put your Joe Egan album on here, and you hit start, it sets the speed to 33, it locks, comes over, drops, and plays Mr. Joe Egan. Let's check him out. And that's Joe Egan. I hit the stop button right there, and it goes back and shuts itself off. Like I said, you can find these records really cheap. And like I said, there's 2 different versions of Map. They're the same album, just different record label. Canada and different. So anyway, let me go ahead here. I know this is running a little bit long. I'm going to put the dust cover down, show you what that looks like, and give you an option for getting a better dust cover. Let's check it out.